What is going on, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. Very small little hand, just a little baby wave. I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist. I'm joined, as I normally am, here Monday, Wednesday. Well, we didn't have anything Monday because it was a wild Memorial Day slate. So we're back to standardized stuff here. It's Chris Spags. You can follow him at Chris Spags, doing an amazing job on the best ball streets now here for us at Stokastic, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific on the Stokastic YouTube channel where you are right now. So click that little bell. It'll alert you whenever anything goes live here. And then you can watch Chris's beautiful face break down the NFL, which everybody cares about more. How you doing, my dude?
Excited to be here. It's a kind of a gloomy day in the Philadelphia area. A lot of places are gloomy today, seemingly based on the postponements we've had weather-wise today. But excited to be here with you. I feel like we haven't gotten to talk baseball in a while. And, these slates, I feel like we're losing games rapidly. For some reason, Eric, us two, who tends to deviate a lot, tend to have a lot of stupid bits that we can go to. We get the shortest slates. We got a 5-gamer today. And frankly, some of the games don't even look that good. So we'll figure out how we get through it here. But I'm excited to be here, excited to be with all you guys. And hopefully we can have a good MLB day today.
Don't tempt me with a good time. Oh, man. They're going to go fucking off the rails every which way. We have 57 minutes together left. Oh, boy, oh, boy. But here's the thing. We do have a slate that is locking in 17 minutes. So as you're coming in, hit the like button. That would be very much appreciated. But we're going to start our breakdown. We're going to start covering the FanDuel slate. And I don't want to go too in-depth as far as like contrarian pitchers, but there's one guy that exists on this board that's above all else. Now, I will say this. The weather isn't as good in Chicago as what it's been the previous 2 days. That Schmevin Schmoff guy definitely breaks it down for you as well. But you can go in the Google machine. You go to winfighter.com, which I use every single day nonstop. A lot, it started back in the Gulf Streets and then kind of progressed up. But I look at Matthew Boyd as still just like an unavoidable piece of chalk on both sites. He is 50% owned, though, currently in our single lineup sim. And obviously, this is the same deal for all of the sims. I want to begin our discussion just with how do you get away from these pitchers facing this dog shit Rockies lineup every single day?
No, and I mean, I feel like whenever I do a show on Stokastic, we end up getting some of the Colorado Rockies lineups where I always want to attack whatever pitcher's going there. We get the Angels bring a lot more dangerous power than Colorado does, but a team that strikes out often 7 guys in the lineup, 8 guys in the lineup above league average. So they're a team we want to attack as well. I think it's the same thing I'm seeing today with the DraftKings slate, but for FanDuel, you have a pretty big discrepancy in ownership between Matt Boyd and Clark Schmidt, who are your 2 chalky options on DraftKings today, or 2 of your chalky options. So I'm with you. Boyd, I think, looks like a good play, but for FanDuel, we were talking about 15% chance for Boyd to be a top pitcher, 11% chance for Clark Schmidt, but 1/4 the ownership for Clark Schmidt. I think you just take the projection, go there. Hunter Green, similar thing. You are paying up to be contrarian there, but getting a cheaper pitcher with a similar projection, similar chance of being top pitcher. I think that it makes Clark Schmidt even more appealing than he is on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm sharing over right now in playback the lovely. Oh, it's actually on the wrong deal right now. So let me get this fixed. Got to pull this up, and we are live over on playback.tv/Stokastic. It was already live over there, but have the Sims tool that I needed to be sharing as opposed to the live odds page. But I was taking a look at some individual bets before this show. I have a lot of bets on the evening card going in, and obviously we entered this show as Gavin Sheets goes yard, cash the plus 675 for me, plus 650 over on DraftKings is what I posted that. But got NoVig. If you're not playing at some of these marketplace sites, I don't know what to tell you. It's just so good over any long-term sample size to save the 25 cents here, the 50 cents there on some of these home run plays. But I look at Matthew Boyd, unavoidable. And as you said before, Clark Schmidt, 1/3 or 1/4 of the ownership. Good math, Eric. Good job. Good thing I do.
You got there.
Yeah, I got there. Yeah.
The wheels spun. The little hamster in your brain did what he had to do, and then boom, you got it.
Oh my God. But I do hate George Kirby. I think George Kirby is bad on FanDuel. I'm not saying on DraftKings. We'll get there. But I think the big difference I have is George Kirby. I don't think we get like a full 9,500 pitches out of George Kirby for quite some time. I think it's going to be a conversation piece. He's going to be better than what we saw in the 3 2/3 against Houston. He had only 72 pitches. He had gotten worked up to 64 in his last AAA outing. So as I look at FanGraphs and see 64 into last time out 72, I think that's where he would have landed, whether he had a good outing through 5 or a bad outing. And I think on FanDuel, he is a terrible, awful, no good, very bad play.
I'm sorry, I missed who you're talking about.
Oh, George Kirby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Kirby. Yeah, Kirby. I mean, look, I think Kirby's an interesting play on DraftKings. The quality
Correct.
start for Kirby, though, I would agree is a little bit of a risk point for sure. I mean, look, Clark Schmidt's facing a soft lineup, does throw it deep enough into games. I don't have the pitch counts in front of me because that's Eric's specialty. He knows them all like Rain Man. You drop a pitch count on the floor, he's counting them all up after the other.
Oh, I guess those were titties. But anyway, yeah, same thing.
Motorboating pitch counts left and right.
Or it could be like Sebulba from Star Wars Episode 1. If people want to go nerdy with me. Annie.
That's where people's brains go. And when you go, blah, blah, blah. That's all. Your motorboat's better than mine. Mine was not.
Did I tell you we were going to get off the rails? Why do they do this on short slates? Put you and I together. Speaking of, I mean, Loco kind of knows exactly. Nothing like having somebody who works at your company saying, excited for the dong of the day and Puppet Lindy, because these are things that are real. And if it's your first time joining our channel, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, Ron didn't know, El Negro Loco didn't know that we were going to do motorboating talk 7 minutes in and do our own impressions of motorboating. So if he had known that in advance, maybe he would put that in the super chat. But I'm with you. I think Kirby, the quality starts a little bit of a risk. I do like Kirby's stuff. I think the matchup for him is, one of the better ones in terms of the total going against him, where you do have the 3.3 implied runs for Washington and Kirby's strikeouts, 8 Ks per 9 versus righties, not the most impressive. 9 Ks per 9 rounding up there versus lefties, a little bit better. 22.8% K rate's pretty much league average. So the stuff's not fantastic. I'm with you. I think if you're going to pay up, going 100 green, again, feels more comfortable to me. But Kirby, top pitcher still has him close, but he is over-owned, a little over-leveraged. So I could see fading Kirby on FanDuel.
That's right. It is Boss Nass. Yeah, that's the guy. That's him. But then that's some music for comic relief.
Is that Jar Jar, but he doesn't know English?
He's Spanish Jar Jar. I'm sorry.
DI Jar Jar. What else you got? Let's keep running.
All right. 11 minutes for everybody over on FanDuel. Matt Boyd, good shot. George Kirby, bad play. Hunter Green, I think, is very interesting. We've had good pitching weather here in Kansas City for the last however long. Today is pretty neutral. I think it's a very neutral day there. And we'll cover that when we get to Noah Cameron, because I do like the idea. I bet Tyler Stevenson. I do think some of these righties that exist in this lineup today are very, very appealing to me. And Noah Cameron himself is actually kind of appealing as a contrarian option because the strikeout rate seems to be all right. Like the strikeout stuff is translating and coming over to some extent. It's a Cincinnati lineup that you never know what you're going to get with them. Of course, they put up like 8 runs in the freezing cold of Kansas City with the wind blowing in 15 miles an hour, get double dongs from Ellie De La Cruz hitting 110 mile per hour piss missiles. But like, what do we look at with Noah Cameron? Because we'll cover him on DraftKings, but to give the people on FanDuel, is he somebody that you would even have in the player pool over there? Because like it gets really thin after Matt Boyd. He's only 9,700, not that hard to get to, but like outside of Hunter Green, who just has upside, is there anybody else down here like Noah Cameron you might take a shot on?
I mean, honestly, and I think FanDuel, to me, when I look at the FanDuel top pitcher tool compared to the DraftKings one, where you have obviously 2 pitchers on DraftKings, 1 on FanDuel. I know I'm saying a basic thing, but trying to explain the tool, you always see so much positive leverage if you just fade the top 3 pitchers on FanDuel. And I do think you go with the lineup rotation today if you're playing a 20 max, 150 max on FanDuel, going heavier on Kikuchi, heavier on Povich. Well, I guess that game, maybe, yeah, you go heavier on Povich. The game's in a delay, so maybe a little bit of risk there, but heavier on all these guys that are a little bit cheaper. Kikuchi, Cameron, Male, Lauer, they all have about 5% positive leverage because they're just underplayed in all these sites with being like 1 to 2% owned. So you make entire portfolios out of the pitcher that isn't the star. Obviously, it never feels most comfortable in DFS, but if you are a player, you're trying to play the game theory way to get yourself first place. On FanDuel, I think it's often very clearly laid out. So I agree Noah Cameron would be like my number 2 kind of not owned at all guy. Feels a little bit gross. Projection's not great for a $9,400 pitcher, but 5% leverage you're getting on him, a 2% owned pitcher. You take that shot and he's hopefully stretched out enough to be able to do some damage. Who knows?
Watch this. So we're going to update this because I think the ownership just went way up, way up on Matt Boyd. It sure did. I guess that's DK. Okay. So I wanted to double check this. I was looking over at the top pitchers tool, wanted to make sure we translated 45%. So it's kind of leveled out, and Hunter Green has taken a little bit of a step up like I expected. Clark Schmidt, 13.4% against that Angels lineup that has power and responsibilities. Shout out Spider-Man. But I look at definitely. Dude, we're going to be ridiculous. Don't mind me. George Kirby. I cannot tell you how bad of a play that is at 12% today. I just really can't emphasize it enough. Do not play him and you'll be fine. I feel the same way. There's nobody now with Paxton Schultz down here. We just had Eric Lauer at 25 fantasy points. That was just flat out wrong because he has a 0% chance to get the quality start. Paxton Schultz is starting, and the best bet that I've seen in quite some time today, under 2.5 strikeouts plus 110, depending on which book you've got access to. I saw it at plus 125 for a second, but I jammed under 2.5 strikeouts for him. He pitched the 24th and the 25th. We'll talk more about bets. We'll talk about portfolio EV as we go along. But in case you're playing along at home, this game starts at 8. You still have an hour and a half. Find a book with even money or better on Paxton Schultz, less than 2.5 strikeouts, and just jam it, Spags, because he pitched on the 24th, the 25th, 2 days rest after nearly 50 pitches. And now he's starting this one. I assume they're going to pull him after one.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good stuff, but I agree. The length of the game, how long he'll be in there, probably not enough to feel confident about. The market pricing, but I think I could live with you taking the under on that one. But when you see a guy, it's got 11.5 Ks per 9 versus righties, 10.5 versus lefties. It's always spooky, but the pitch count's going to be like, 30 or so?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see, I see like cap of 2 innings. Like, it could be pinch count dependent to some extent, and they don't want Eric Lauer to face this top of the lineup twice. That's kind of the main deal. So keep that in mind. Not in play for FanDuel. They do have Paxton Schultz listed. You're not playing him, barring, you're just not. You're just not in a million years. So
you're doing the Gilbert Arenas and you're punting away money for the good, the good of the community and other sites.
You interrupt me again, and I will Gilbert Arenas you in a worse way. In a nice way. In a nice way. But no, I mean, we're going to play poker, and I'll take your money. That's what I meant.
Yeah, just exchanging chips. There you go.
That's anyway. We got a couple of stacks to cover on the FanDuel side before we can really have this show take off. But I really wanted to focus in on this just as we started off because, well, we'll have forever to talk about DraftKings. It doesn't lock for an hour and 10 minutes. Our show is going to be done at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. That is 4:15 my time here in make believe land. But you definitely have plenty of time to get your DraftKings lineups in, and then, well, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we'll have NBA Live before lock. But FanDuel does look a little bit similar to what we got going down in DraftKings land. And we've got New York as the top stack. We've got Chicago pretty close up there against Tanner Gordon and this dog shit Colorado Rockies bullpen. We also have Trevor Williams facing Seattle with tons of lefty power. And boy, does he have an issue with lefty power. And then Paxton Schultz, who's really good, but turning it over to Eric Lauer, who's also been effective. Bullpen situations aren't always my favorite, but Corey Seager sure is back in the lineup today for the Texas Rangers. Do you have a favorite stack for FanDuel purposes here, Spags, before they get to lock in 5 minutes?
For FanDuel, I mean, it's very different, I think, than it is on DraftKings. I really got barely any Yankees. Like the matchup conceptually, but total's not there. Price tags, I mean, well, really the price tag's the main thing there. It's hard to get there on the sim right now. But on FanDuel, you're going to get there so much more. 16% chance to be a top stack, positively leveraged still, as we always talk about when you have that top stack tool. And you see that your highest probability stack is actually, a little bit under owned. You're just free then to play that one, not as much as you want, but you got to be with the chalk as much as you please there. Try to get creative with your stacks as well, still within it. But I think the Yankees really appealing. Kikuchi, a guy that will get strikeouts, but Yankees, a lot of dangerous power, good park factors as well in terms of the power, home runs being allowed in Angel Stadium. So I think for the Yankees here, they're a clear-cut one to me where it's really would love to play him on FanDuel. Didn't get him really at all on DraftKings.
Aaron Judge, 33.5% ownership going in there. Wyatt Langford sitting there, 28% ownership. That's a little bit heavy for me here, guys. Like, I do think Texas, there are some individual pieces. Josh Smith pulling 23.5. This is way too heavy for me over on FanDuel. So if you're playing this slate, and we'll get to the DK side of things because it's kind of similar, but we've seen routinely, if there are good chalk pieces that are easily attainable, they get jammed here on FanDuel. I wouldn't be shocked to see Aaron Judge come in 40-45% routinely over there. I'm not playing FanDuel today, though, so it's more of like exercising caution when it comes to some of these Texas guys because it just seems crazy to me on this specific slate that they're going to be that much more popular. Like Seattle a lot. They're kind of falling through the cracks. You get JP Crawford there, brought up the lefty power specifically. Well, a guy who's got a ton of it and somebody who's got an opportunity to do crazy, crazy things every single slate. Cal Raleigh pulling half the ownership nearly of Josh Smith there. I guess, what is that? 66% of the ownership here coming down to Cal Raleigh there. I think he looks awesome. I like getting to some of the Seattle chalk a little bit more. Rowdy Tellez sitting there at 4%, bet his home run. I think there's just so much equity with these lefties against a guy like Trevor Williams, who just has a very noticeable pattern of giving up power to them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good look as well. Seattle, to me, a team on DraftKings I like a lot as well. So I'm sure we'll talk about more of them through that prism. But I'm with you again. Like Yankees underowned, Seattle underowned, Cubs a little bit over, Texas way overowned. And I talked about it before. Texas park factors, obviously, the roof's been closed a lot. Really hitting really terribly to start the year. Negative park factors for pretty much everything, including home runs. 25% less home runs, 12% negative park factors overall, 24% less runs, 9% less hits. Like Texas, I think, they've hit a few times as like your chalk stack on slates, including in shows I've been on. But I feel like they failed often enough that at a certain point, I don't know, something's weird going on in Texas when the roof is closed.
Yeah, it's always been that way. I mean, it really has. Going back to like 2020 pandemic, they did the World Series there. And I just said, if you're expecting this to be a shootout every single time out, you got the wrong baseball games on. And it is definitely difficult to see balls leaving the stadium there with that roof closed. When it's open, completely different story. Generally, the wind is out. But it is few and far between in the months of May, June, July, August. And then, we've seen just Texas bullpen and everything else come playoff time in October, November. Like the offense can really open up. That's really how they won a World Series. Adolis Garcia, Josh Smith was a god. Evan Carter, if people remember him as well. Corey Seager, of course, ridiculous postseasons. But how the mighty have fallen, Adolis Garcia buried in the order because he can't hit anymore. 2 minutes left. I love Toronto as a contrarian stack, and I think Dalton Varsho. I was lamenting the fact that I'm on under 4.5 strikeouts for Tyler Mahle, because when this lineup rolled out, I was shocked. Dalton Varsho batting first, Anthony Santander batting second. Those are your two highest strikeout bats going 1-2. However, I totally understand why you do it, because Mahle, lefty power, same kind of a deal, trying to get them as many at bats against him as you humanly possibly can. From a DFS perspective, happy to embrace Varsho as chalk.
Yeah, Varsho, I think, is an interesting play on both sites. Toronto does look, you said they're contrarian. On FanDuel, it does seem like they're a little bit overowned, 3% negative leverage on them. So they're not too highly owned, compared to some of the other teams, in particular Texas. But their own being right next to the Yankees, Cubs, Seattle, I think that's a little bit rich for them. But mini stacks, I think, look appealing given the low run total there, a lower run total. Really a bunch of guys that don't strike out. Certainly they can make something happen out of nowhere, but I think Seattle to me, not Seattle. I think Toronto to me, nice play, really not loving the 5-man stacks with the ownership there. I think that feels a little bit heavy.
Yeah, probably a little bit true over there. But my friends, we just got ourselves to lock of the FanDuel slate, which means we're going to jump over to DraftKings. I'm actually going to rerun my Sims here right now because we did get a couple of different things that came through. We probably will as we continue along this show as well. Wanted to touch base on a couple of different things here as we get going. Volley really limits damage, though. We'll talk about him and all the pitchers over on the DraftKings side. AJ Verse, well, we continue on our merry way. That is my catchphrase. I'm glad you fucking appreciate me. Thanks for the Walker call yesterday. You're so fucking welcome. And last one, of course, Lauer doesn't have a projection anymore in the Sims, nor should he, because on FanDuel, he would have been the worst play in the history of America. So, no quality start equity, not going to be pitching deep enough to really matter, not exactly cheap, would have been really, really bad to get to him. Same way that I kind of feel about George Kirby. But Spags, anything left for the FanDuel people, because now they get to watch everything take place?
No, you're still getting your leverage against Matt Boyd there for Colorado if you want to go that way, really low run total, but there is positive leverage there. Even there is only a 2.3% chance of being a top stack. For people out there that do love going against the popular pitcher, Matt Boyd is going to be incredibly popular. So you could try to play it that way if you want. Washington, same thing with George Kirby, and Eric doesn't like George Kirby, so maybe Washington can hit against him, but I think more likely he doesn't give up a lot of damage, doesn't create enough strikeouts to matter, or get enough pitch count on FanDuel to hit the quality start. And St. Louis, I guess maybe if you want to play the weather there and deal with the delay, that might be somebody to play a little bit of. But I guess Baltimore too. Just remember the fact that they are technically on the slate, even though you might not want to absorb that risk. But really, I think we covered the top teams. Yankees to me, like just being forgotten on FanDuel in a way that seems stupid.
All righty. While we're talking about everything here for the DraftKings slate, there's also Portfolio EV getting shared directly over on playback.tv/Stokastic. We'll have NBA going on afterwards for it as well. If anything is crazy competitive with OKC Minnesota, first off, I'll be happy. Second off, Josh Engelman will be joining you around that third, fourth quarter time to go out and sweat it with you. Again, it seems unlikely, but yay, go Wolves. It'll be fun. You know what's really fun, though? Making money betting. And not enough people do it. Well, we can help you do it with Portfolio EV. It is a market-based tool that can be utilized in the NBA, MLB, WNBA, and sometimes UFC pops up at the top for rounds. I've seen that come in from time to time. So many different markets, so little time to be able to start making money with Portfolio EV. So head to the link below as we work through this slate together, and you can take advantage right now. 7-day free trial of the best market-based tool that exists in the entire industry. Check it out right meow over on Playback. See what I'm talking about. And then, well, we're going to cover this slate here. I am rerunning my Sims, but let's start with the chalk on the DraftKings side at pitcher. And it's Matthew Boyd. He is in 65% of lineups. 2/3 of lineups are going to have him too little, too much, or just about right, Spags.
I would say, in my opinion, just about right. I'm looking at my sim number I got, though I'm going to have to repull stuff in a minute. I had 72% exposure before some of the lineup changes that have gone on. I don't think Matthew Boyd's going to move that much. Fields at 68, or 65. I think that I'm okay being above the field on him. The big things that you're going against Colorado, getting a downgrade in park factors. And even though the Cubs, in Wrigley Field, it's played a little bit hot this year in terms of the production there, but a lot of random 20-run games, it feels like that have happened this year, 15, 10-plus run games, especially on the Cubs side. Colorado is just so bad top to bottom, not including Orlando Arcia, who's not a player that my data's pulling correctly for. 6 guys that strike out above league average in the lineup, a high aggregate K rate. Really overall for these guys, including guys like Jordan Beck, who up top, he's hitting, he got a 38% strikeout rate right now against the lefties overall. There's some really egregious K rates against lefties in this lineup. 5 guys that strike out above 30% in the lineup. Obviously, some small sample size for a few of them. It's really a soft matchup. So for Boyd, you have a really low total as well. Only pitcher on the slate with a run total under 3 going against him. He's got good enough stuff over the last couple seasons, 47% chase rate, 13% swing strike rate for this slate. Definitely some of the better stuff overall. Doesn't attack the zone too much, so I'm not so worried about him maybe getting pounded with a home run or something. Park factor should keep that in play as well for the most part. Really nothing for Boyd that I think is like a red flag where you're going, but this could go badly. And that's where you get to that kind of level of chalk that's hard to ignore. And the projection, Eric, 21.4 point projection for Stokastic right now. That's massive value. He's mispriced for the slate. He's just kind of a jam it in play and just deal with it if it doesn't work out.
Yep. Same thing I've done with every Cubs pitcher this entire slate, or this entire series, that is the Cubs and Colorado series. Obviously, it was nice if Jameson Taillon getting to face a Rockies team that was just at Coors, couldn't hit in Coors, and then the ball is going to break more with the wind blowing in. Jameson Taillon was a just virtual jam. Yesterday, I did think that there were reasons to not completely jam the Cade fellow, but today, I just don't see a reason you don't play eternal amounts of Matt Boyd other than maybe you get to 95% of him or 85% of him, and you get to a couple of Rocky stacks on the other side and just say his arm falls off mid-game. But then they probably just have another pitcher come in and mow down this Colorado Rockies lineup, and you don't get fantasy points for it. So that would be bad. But I love Matt Boyd. The Sims loves Matt Boyd. The worst stack ROI, again, this has kind of been the theme of this entire season. And you either have them be like a really, really good leverage stack, or you get like what we have today, the worst 5-man stack that you can possibly put together in the Sims on DraftKings is the Colorado Rockies. So just want to point it out. It is always something to pay attention to because sometimes, especially on shorter slates like the Hunter Brown one, we've seen leverage against the pitcher can be a good thing, but Matt Boyd is just too good. And this is such a bad historically bad Colorado Rockies lineup. So we have to take advantage. I guess just ball club in general. They've had bad lineups for a couple of years now, but now the pitching's come along for the ride in the worst of ways. Let's continue on with pitcher though, where on the expensive end, we don't really have a ton to be navigating through. We have Hunter Green and we have Noah Cameron sitting there as well at 8,800, Tyler Mahle, 8,600, George Kirby, 8,500, all 5 of them, there's only 4 people. Nice job counting, Eric. 4 people that are next up in line there However, they're all more expensive than the guy that we just talked about in Matthew Boyd. I don't know how you really parse through the likes of of Noah Cameron, Tyler Mahle. They look about the same to me. Hunter Green and George Kirby look the same in terms of our projection for them. I do think Hunter Green, I value a little bit more because of what I think that potential pitch count can be relative to that of George Kirby. So even though there's like a 2.5 point, 2.28 fantasy point projection difference there, I strongly prefer Hunter Green here. And obviously George Kirby, I will get to a little bit. I just got done like besmirching his name. I apologize to his family on FanDuel, but amongst these four expensive pitchers above Matt Boyd, do you have a favorite, Spags?
My favorite based on ownership would be Hunter Green. Actually, no, based on ownership, it would be George Kirby. I got him at 18%. Okay. I do think Hunter Green, though, fits the criteria of what I'm looking for a little bit more in terms of projection, where Stokastic has him at an 18.8 projection. Obviously, pitching's a little bit different than some of the other sports out there where you're looking at, for NBA, what's your standard deviation for a player? What's the ceiling at? Like Hunter Green can beat Matthew Boyd for ceiling. I think he can also just median projection beat out Clark Schmidt if things work out for Clark Schmidt. Gives up a few homers maybe against the dangerous bats the Angels have. I think for Hunter Green, there's appeal to him. Got him at 13%, though. Fields at 35. So definitely not a pro stand in favor for where I'm getting with Hunter Green in my top 150 lineups. But I do think the game theory of it, looking at him, a matchup versus KC, who doesn't strike out a bunch, but still, not a great lineup he's going against overall. About a 300 OBP for the lineup he's going to be going against. Like nothing you're too scared of. 130 ISO. Really nothing that's going to be really spooking you away from going a guy who's got the best stuff in the slate with Hunter Green. 28%. Actually, 30% K rate for the year. Only giving up a 206 batting average, highest chase rate on the slate besides Paxton Schultz, highest swinging strike rate on the slate besides Paxton Schultz, and obviously he's only throwing a little bit. So I think for Hunter Green, he's got great stuff. That's the one to me that makes the most sense. George Kirby, I think more of a pivot to Schmidt, but whatever.
George Kirby, more of a pivot to Schmidt. I think Schmidt and Kikuchi, and I mean, you can look at the top lineups. I was just kind of showing you guys, kind of giving you an idea. I have a Hunter Green problem. He is my boy. He is LA's finest. I love him more than I love. Okay, maybe not as much as I love Duke, but close. Hunter Green has made me a lot more money than Duke, so that's good. 9K by leaps and bounds. But look at this ownership. It's really getting up there in a pretty considerable way. And when you end up getting Massey scratched, and now we're going to have to talk about some of the chalk that exists as like cheap batters over on the Kansas City side, I think I kind of side with them a little bit more, although I'm going to have more than this amount of Hunter Green when we get to lock. I'll be north of the 20% number, but I think George Kirby's fine. Again, currently 18.67, but I'm going to be underneath his ownership. I'm just not going to full fade him on DraftKings or on FanDuel. I would have full faded him for sure. But now we get into the fun part, Spags. Clark Schmidt, Yusei Kikuchi. Sims Tool loves them. I totally get the Clark Schmidt deal coming in a little bit under-owned, I would say, at 33.5%. So I'm totally fine with 52%. You get a righty-heavy LA lineup. Clark Schmidt, very good against them. What do we kind of do here with the Yankees? Clark Schmidt, who, again, it's hard to differentiate Will Warren and him. I couldn't recognize who was who in a lineup of, two people, but Will Warren, I think, has better strikeout stuff than Clark Schmidt, but what a good spot to land. We have a great projection on him. What's not to love?
You mean the projection definitely is going to be the first thing that stands out with it being 7,700, being projected for just shy of 18 fantasy points. So you're talking about him being in, Hunter Green territory without being anywhere near the pitcher. So that's noteworthy enough. Frankly, the thing to me is that you have a good run total here with a 3.8 implied runs. Definitely a little more of a run total where you can make the case for stacks going against Schmidt if you want to get leverage than I think you can for the Colorado side of things, even though we talked about the theory of that there on FanDuel a few minutes ago. But I think for the Angels, you got enough guys that strike out, 7 guys striking out over league average in the lineup overall. And Clark Schmidt, for whatever, mediocrity I think he brings to the table. And on my sheet, mediocre is defined as all yellow. He's pretty much all yellow and everything. But 23.3% K rate for him is above league average. So a guy gets strikeout above league average against a team that strikes out above league average by a good amount. That's the kind of thing I'm willing to go to. So I've played shittier pitchers against the Angels. I've played shittier pitchers against Colorado. It's worked out enough. I think for me, that's the main thing that stands out here. This is your matchup play. Really, your two matchup plays of the day are Boyd and Schmidt. Your talent play of the day is Hunter Green, and in between somewhere is probably George Kirby.
Yeah, and I mean, the Sims, we'll get there with what the Sims are doing that I find to be very, I'd say interesting. It works against my natural proclivity, but that generally is a good thing in MLB DFS because if something feels uncomfortable, but it projects out better than expected, you should probably just let the computers do their thing. And we'll talk about that with the Kansas City Royals, where they are getting pumped, just pumped by the Sims tool right now. And I think the price tags are definitely part of that. Hunter Green, oh man, it is truly one of those spots where I'm just going to have to boost him a little bit to make sure that I get it. He's the second best projected pitcher on a slate where we do have Aaron Judge, things of that nature, where, obviously they're going to be the ones that get prioritized by the Sims. We've seen that time and time again with Shohei Ohtani, with Corbin Carroll, and Aaron Judge. I mean, he's just unavoidable on a slate like this when you're playing more than one lineup. But can I ask you if there's any interest you have whatsoever? I mean, it's kind of the same thing I've said about every Colorado pitcher. Tanner Gordon gets the same game environment that Matthew Boyd does. So if we say that it's good, if it's neutral or, better pitching weather than hitting weather, like, typically will be with the wind blowing sideways or slightly in, I think Tanner Gordon, despite the projection here, is somebody that I could roll out in a lineup or two, just hoping that somehow it is just a ballpark that's playing difficult. I will say, I think today, probably the least comfortable I felt about that take, but Herman Marquez, Palmquist, whoever the hell that was the other day, I thought that they were in better spots than what you're going to have for Gordon, because now the power could bite him. But is he somebody you have on your board whatsoever?
I didn't get him at all in the sim. I certainly wouldn't go out of my way to get him. Really, your biggest case is the leverage against the decently owned Cub stack, where you have the top four guys going to be owned, 10 to 20%. Kyle Tucker being the high man at 20% expected ownership by Stokastic. Tanner Gordon showing nothing of note, really. Bad chase rate, bad swing strike rate so far, and he's faced 212 batters, so we're not quite at like the 500 plus you need to get to for that to be a little bit stickier, but it's still not good results so far. 16.5% K rate versus lefties is actually like really bad. 5 Ks per 9 versus righties is getting 9 Ks per 9. So maybe he's due for some better results there. The 2 whip he's put up versus righties is really killing him. 440 BABIP, also probably some bad luck for him so far in the 100 batters that he's faced from the right side of the plate. But the stuff is not great. I think there's a logic. Like, you're going to have a really different lineup if you play Tanner Gordon with him being 2% owned and change. So I could see where you're going with it. I didn't get there. I've gotten to shitty pitchers before on slates. I just think, to me, for putting in a few lineups like Boyd and Schmidt were just easy clicks for me, because I just really had a really hard time finding the devil's advocate case against them.
Trevor Williams, I can make kind of a case for as well. Good pitcher park, terrible lineup, and a guy who gives up lefty power. I mean, I feel like I've said that about every pitcher, but it's true. Like, every pitcher on this slate that is, borderline useful. Like, Trevor Williams is borderline useful as a major league pitcher. Like, I don't think he's very good, but most people don't. I think he's probably better than what the public consensus is now around him. Do you have any interest in him? Because I do have a lot more interest in the Seattle stacks, but I assume that's the sentiment everywhere.
Yeah, I got 5% Trevor Williams. I guess technically a decimal point higher than the ownership expected for him at 5.1. I got 5.3. So big pro Trevor Williams stand here. At least relative to Tanner Gordon, though, I got Trevor Williams a respectable amount. I agree that he's more of a mediocre pitcher and he's got a larger sample size we can rely on. The case for Tanner Gordon is that he hasn't really shown what he is as a player with a sample size of 200 batters and change the last couple of years. Trevor Williams, he's faced 1,000 plus guys. So like, he is what he is with an 18.5% K rate, very low swing strike rate, lowest on the slate at 8.4%, chase rate of 40. Trevor Williams' stats make me want to go to Seattle stacks more. The fact that he doesn't attack the zone as much, really the one caveat there, lowest zone pitch rate at 39% on the slate. But when he does attack the zone, he gets hit the most, 89% zone hit rate. So, or zone contact rate, not hit. That'd be crazy if he gave up an 890 batting average. You'd want to go against him if he gave up that much. I think he's playable. I think he's mostly playable, though, because you're getting leverage against Seattle, and he's a competent veteran pitcher. But really, like, what he is. If he gets there today, it's probably just like gets 5 strikeouts, gives up 2 runs, and like he was okay enough at his price tag. He's not going to give you 9 strikeouts today unless lightning strikes or something.
Did we completely remove Eric Lauer? Because he was 6K, and I thought he was still somebody on DK. Unless there was news that I missed, please post me or tag me if there was any news about Eric Lauer potentially having a shortened stint or something of that nature. Because, like, he's $200 less than Trevor Williams. I don't assume that Paxton Schultz can pitch beyond 2 innings. And so I do think Eric Lauer has like 4 or 5 innings upside. The results have outperformed what his underlying metrics have been over the course of this season. But like Eric Lauer is still one of those dudes. And let me pull up my notes on him because I generally write notes about guys as the season goes along. He's going to outperform with his curveball from time to time. That was one of my big notes. 38.9% whiff percentage there. Gets a ton of ground ball contact on it. When it's working, there is strikeout upside there. And so if he's not going to show up at sites, or if we're not going to have him in the projections, 6K flat on DK on a short slate, I might roll out a lineup or two or have to like force that in. What I'll probably do is boost Trevor Williams to some extent, and then I'll just swap and maybe just have the $200 left over. That'll probably be something I do. I'm playing 150 lineups today, so I'll probably just hand edit a couple of those and have some exposure, but there's definitely a case to be made for like playing 0%, but like I expect him to be like 1-2% out, like maximum.
Yeah, I mean, Lauer's still again, you should never take your gambling sites as your news source, but Lauer still lists as the PLR on DraftKings, a projected long reliever there, and I didn't see anything either. I wouldn't want to play Lauer other than the contrarian nature, which I get where you're going for the game theory of it. Yeah. He's getting hit really hard. He's not on my data sheet anymore because he's not listed as a starter, but high fly ball rate, high hard hit rate, high ISO, bad swing strike rate, bad chase rate. He had the worst marks across the slate. Pretty much every category I track for a pitcher. So he's the kind of pitcher I'd want to go against, but certainly on a tournament, slate of this size, guy being unowned, you want to get cute, you can get cute. And I think if Eric's playing 150, I think that explains your some of your pitchers you're playing today explains a little bit more. You're not choosing a selectively.
Oh, thank you, News God. You're going to get blessed with so much Puppet Lindquist. Oh, I made it sound like he was about to service him, but whatever. It is what it is. Jay Wagner, we're currently projecting Eric Lauer for the most pitches in a bulk reliever role for Toronto. There's risk here with Lauer as nothing is confirmed that he will be the bulk guy. Exactly. It's an assumption just based on what they've been doing on these odd days, but I just see it as he didn't pitch. Let's see, pitched on the 23rd, 4 days rest, 85 pitches in that spot. They want to give Eric Lauer kind of an easier opportunity to succeed against the top of the lineup, specifically Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager. He is left-handed. That's a plus. You go to his 2023 numbers. He only gave up 1 homer in 10 innings to lefties, whereas he gave up 15 to right-handed bats. All the good bats on the Texas side come from the left side. So thought I'd break that down a little bit further just because no stones left unturned, Spags. No stones left unturned.
No, you every time there's some stones, you turn them over. You're flipping them like pancakes. Guys, stones, you're flipping them.
It's very rude and inappropriate, and I don't appreciate it.
It's cool because you pick them up like this. You make the motorboating sound, but only on the stones.
Juicy plums. The plum just... Oh, Will Ferrell's so funny.
Like ice cream on a summer day.
6K for 85 pitches versus Texas seems like it needs a projection of some sort. So here's the thing. I think 85's on the high end now. Also, yeah, Loco. Yeah, I get it. Thank you so much for sending that in, by the way, because it was very, very necessary. I think it's going to be a lower pitch allotment considering 4 days rest as opposed to the full 5, but I still think he probably should be projected to some extent here. I'll send a note here and see what we can. Actually, Loco, if you could, just as I'm doing this, because, clicking on all the things and whatever else, if you could send a note and just be like, hey, can we get a projection up for Eric Lauer just so that he's in the Sims? I would be very, very appreciative of it. But here's the thing. It's an extremely volatile projection. I will probably address it personally as Trevor Williams and then hand edit because, playing 150 and the dollar and the 50 cent and everything, just rotate and just maybe have the 50 cent ones have the exact same lineups as long as there's no Seattle pieces on the other side. And then just kind of click over to some Eric Lauer.
You're thinking you're the late stop king. That's what we know.
Clintwood, I apologize. The Lindy Discord loves you and you keep winning. And that kind of pisses me off. But also I could imagine that depending on what moment you walked into this show, you probably never get to watch this show around her ever again.
She can't ban you. That's not how marriage works. You shouldn't allow
That's
that. Don't let her
exactly
ban
how
you.
marriage works. What kind of marriage are you in?
We don't. We didn't. I mean, there's nothing I'm banned from. That's not. We don't allow that. Maybe strip clubs, but even that, we can find our way around that if we needed to.
So you need a buddy?
Maybe I'm only banned from female strip clubs. So we go to an all male review and we can get magic mic'd. Well, you asked for a loophole.
Portfolio EV, 7-day free trial at the link below. Portfolio EV, the best market-based tool, and Chris Spagg's probably the best tool in the entire industry. It's fantastic stuff. 7-day free trial. We're talking market-based betting. It is being shared right now at playback.tv/Stokastic. And there's a reason that we talk about it all the damn time. Not only with Stokastic goodness, because we have Sims tools that win people lots of money, like 100K for Danny and everything else. But this is one of those things where Portfolio EV, from a betting perspective, everybody can take advantage of. You don't need to run insanely good. You simply need to get money down and get closing line value day after day after day after day after day. If you do that, you're going to be profitable with Portfolio EV. And it doesn't matter if you're in a one book pony state like Maine, where it's only DraftKings, or Oregon, only DraftKings, or Florida, only Hard Rock. There's other places, these exchange sites like NoVig, ProfitX, they're popping up. We have sweepstakes and Fliff and other places. These are popping up. They're becoming more normal. And as a result, you have more ways to make money betting with your portfolio day in, day out. That is the name of the game. That is what Portfolio EV does for you. And it's not just the MLB streets where it's posting bets from. No. We have NBA still rocking, WNBA now in full force here as well. That has been extremely soft to start off the season. Just look at Greg Ehrenberg's results in those streets. And of course, NHL playoffs, which I've really enjoyed watching, go Edmonton. But 7-day free trial for all new users. Check it out at the link below. Take advantage now. Don't sit around and wait for this opportunity. Simply jump in right now. All righty, y'all. We got 17 minutes left in our program. If you could, hit that like button. If not for me, do it for Puppet Lindquist. Not for Spags. He's a jerk, and he treated me very poorly a second ago. But we have the most interesting grouping of stacks that I can ever remember in the Sims tool. This is an insane slate, Spags. Like, batshit insane, because Kansas City is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth in our top stacks tool. Ninth. They are by far, the stack that we are getting to the most in the Sims tool today. 1, can you explain it in reverse? And 2, are you going to be doing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a lot of them. I got 19% 5-man stacks for KC, 8% 4-mans, 8% 3-mans. My highest exposed for all of them. I don't love it. I mean, look, when I'm hand selecting lineups, would I go to KC first? I'm going to say probably not, besides maybe Bobby Witt at shortstop, given the fact you are getting some not great shortstops. JP Crawford, I got a lot of he's fine, but he's not really the highest upside guy in the world. Where Witt, we know, will probably give us 10 points in most scenarios, and upside giving you a lot more than that. But, got him a lot in the sim. I get that part. Getting India a lot in the sim at 3,100, second baseman, hitting leadoff. I get that. Sal Perez with the pop he's got, getting him, I could respect that. Like getting so much past Cantino, I would like him normally, but 3x the field on a guy who's going against Hunter Green, it doesn't feel great. I just don't feel like you usually get the stack who is going against one of the best pitchers on the slate this chalkily. I don't love that, but the sim is the sim. You get it for a reason. They make things work. So I understand that concept. I would just say for personal choice, Eric, I probably would not like KC as much as the sim is giving me.
Yeah, I don't like it as much as the Sims are giving me right now, but I still think they're going to end up as like my number 1 or number 2 stack when it's all said and done. And here's kind of the thinking of it. This is why I think it's happening. And when I was asking you, can you explain it in reverse? We're kind of reverse engineering what's going on, or what I believe is going on. I don't think it's that hard to play Hunter Green today. Like, that's my big concern. And I think we could see the ownership come in much higher. It's already high because, I mean, despite the fact that Matthew Boyd is 8,300 there, he's like unavoidable there. Hunter Green does have these outings where he'll give up hard contact, does have outings where things aren't necessarily all fine and keen. And I think the weather's improved so dramatically here. that you're getting an extreme fly ball pitcher in Hunter Green out in Kansas City with tons of power at the top of the lineup, and then a bunch of cheapies, whether it's Darren Blanco, Drew Waters. I mean, the bottom of that lineup is so brutal. But if you pay attention to the Sims and exactly what's going on, you're getting to primarily the studs. You were getting to a Sal Perez at the catcher spot in 30% of lineups. You were getting to Vinny Pasquantino, 3,400 at first base and his upside. Jonathan India, 3,100. Raquel Garcia, 33%. And then Bobby Witt Jr., he is the biggie, 52%. We are taking an extremely strong stand on him, knowing like his 2-hit prop every single day. You look at his props, and it isn't reflective of like somebody who's facing an elite, beyond elite pitcher. Now, the Darren Blanco thing is a little bit wild to me. I will definitely end up capping him. I don't want him in 2/3 of my lineups, but he's 2,500. And what he allows is Aaron Judge, Kyle Tucker, Santander, Julio Rodriguez. I guess Santander doesn't matter. He's not expensive anymore because he sucks. Wyatt Langford, Pete Crow Armstrong. Like, we're basically being given all of the expensive guys, and we're getting leverage against the second most popular pitcher next to Matthew Boyd on the entire slate.
Yeah, like I get it. And getting the leverage too is a great thing. It's just odd to see this much ownership. And the Blanco thing too, I'm glad you pointed out. I could see the chat mentioning it as well. Now I got 65% of him in the semi-ran. Again, and when I'm picking my final lineups here, which I'm doing a little bit now, but mostly going to finish after we wrap up the show here. I don't think you're going to get Blanco that much, or you should, but certainly you get the logic for it. Really, the main thing the sim is telling you is that having that cheap outfielder, like a guy, 2,500, John Rave, not a good hitter, very likely to get pinch hit for, but he's also really cheap at outfield as well for that. Like, playing one of those guys might matter a lot in the slate because what it allows you to get around that. I think it also does make it kind of appealing to look at teams like the Cubs where you have 3 superstar outfielders that you probably want to get in a stack. And then maybe that's your way to get some leverage against your fellow Stokastic users today. But really the Blanco thing, I think, speaks to more. And really the KC overall, finding this cheap grouping of players allows you to achieve a lot of things with your lineup that you need. And I think that's kind of the main thing to take away from KC, even though KC itself, I think you can question the play being as much as you might get in the sim.
Yeah, if you guys go to the link below, we've got NoVig, promo code Stokastic1. We've got Join Stokastic MLB. If you guys haven't signed up for the Sims, now's a phenomenal time to take advantage because we have so much MLB coming. June, July, August. That is 3 months of MLB leading you into the NFL season. So while Spags will be in the best ball streets, I'm sure I'll be jumping in the best ball streets wherever I can. The MLB streets are going to be fruitful for 90 days here plus. So check them out. But let's walk through this together. So if you're going to Stokastic here and we go to the top left corner, exposure cap. Here's the easiest thing you can do. You can simply change it to everybody. And there are top players. If you go to the post-contest sim and look at them, I'm thinking of Brontosaurus Flex, guys of that nature, that will hard cap and have like only 35% of any batter tops. Some guys make it even smaller, like 25%, other than like maybe a Judge, maybe an Ohtani. But my whole point is that I do think having Blanco and capping him to some extent here and limiting your exposure to him, like there's not much that can burn you when he's 2,500, but he's only going to get 3 at bats. 3.5 is kind of what the tippy top of his range is going to be for his projection. And then 25%, I think that that's more than enough for a guy here at 10.6. It will change around your lineups quite a bit. So we'll set the exposures here as the favorite, and then you go back in, add your top 150, such as I am doing here right now. And you go back and you will see Blanco, 25%. So super easy. I know a lot of people have used optimizers for a decade like myself. You're going to have no problem with this. It makes sense. But in case it is your first time utilizing the Sims, I wanted to walk you through it because I do think it's important when I talk about something that I can actually show you how to do it in the event that you don't. That is going to be what I do to handle some of this Blanco ownership, Spags.
And I would say, too, if you want to get even more game theory on it, taking your Blanco ownership, turning it into, takes whatever amount of Blanco, get with the field, get 15, 20% even, take some amount the sim would give you, give it to Connor Joe, give some amount to John Rave, give some amount to all the guys who are cheaper, and treat it like Tony Bradley the other day, people who played the Knicks showdown, where you had 1K guys then who then popped up. Shamet got more, Delon Wright got more. Nobody would have projected that. That's one way to also try to play Blanco, I think, is like that 2,500 matters a lot for your lineups, is what the sim is telling you, but it doesn't have to be that guy. It's just that he's got the best projection out of that group of guys that are 2,500 or less and outfielder.
Yep. Thank you for the replies. I'm just doing one of the pre-cons that have been constantly amongst the tops. That's great. That's great. That's a great way to figure it out. I've always recommended people go over, play the nickel, play the quarter, play whatever you can. The nickel over on FanDuel, the quarter arcade over on DK, whatever it is that can get you acquainted to utilizing the sims, to utilizing a process, and then bringing it to fruition. You have to understand you're going to lose a lot more days than you win in DFS. You're going to win a lot more than you lose in days using Portfolio EV, depending on how you have that portfolio set up. So like we're talking about like two different things, and like how you go about it, I truly think is just an important talking point. So hopefully, congratulations on figuring out how to finish considerably up near the top in some of those free contests. I would urge you, just when people start building with a money sign in front of it, you won't have as many dead lineups within as you will in some of those free contests. So something that I noticed back when I started playing DFS, like 2014, 2015, and it's been a long, long time in these streets. So check it out. That's for sure. Yeah. Rockies, Cubs over 7.5. It's a low total for a reason, friends. It's a low total, but let's talk about the stacks here. We got 8 more minutes. We obviously need to make Loco happy because he was very helpful on the show, and do Dong of the Day with Puppet Lindquist. So hit the like button, get us over 100, and we will guarantee that happens. But any other stacks that you really want to be prioritizing on today's slate, Spags?
No, I mean, Cubs, Seattle, I think were my preferred ones. I do like the Yankees more, like we talked about. Again, FanDuel will come up a lot. Just reran my sim. Didn't get a ton more for the Yankees either, despite them having that 4.9 run implied total. Obviously, Kikuchi's got good stuff in terms of strikeouts and all that, but he also gives up a lot of dangerous power, and he's now facing a team chock full of it from the right side of the plate and left side too. So I would like to get some more Yankees. Got 5% 5-mans. I think they're a noteworthy one. But the Cubs to me are really the hill I'm going to die on. I try to get unique ways to make that work. Took on some value guys with it as well from Toronto. The Cubs were a priority number 1 for me.
Yep, totally get it. You get Tanner Gordon, you get these Rockies. I definitely. The other thing about the Cubs, and I brought this up the other day because people were shocked that the Cubs were showing up in the Sims. They run so much 1 through 9 that it just doesn't matter. If the weather is terrible out, they can still put up fantasy scores with steals and double steals and ridiculous stuff like that. Kyle Tucker runs, Pete Crow Armstrong runs, Nico Horner really runs. Ian Happ from time to time, even though that really hasn't been in the cards for him this season. Lots of ways where you can get to Cubbies and they're going to still pan out for you in beautiful and fantabulous ways. But any stacks that you are vehemently against, because it would look as though the Cubbies, I'm going to have to do a little bit of manual auditing if I really want to get to them whatsoever, although I think they're a little bit more popular than they've been in the previous 2 days. Totally makes sense. Smaller slate today than what we've had the previous couple. But Seattle, I do like still. Kansas City, we talked about the nuance of that one. Toronto, Texas, totally chalky, totally fine. Yankees not showing up at all whatsoever. This is kind of the one that I'm a little surprised by. Washington against George Kirby. I'm probably going to do something to get to more Bell, more Abrams as well. But any stacks that you're really not getting to, Spags?
So Sims gave me no Colorado. I'm not going to move it around too much because I'm not going to pull enough lineups today to really want to go to Colorado. I do think they make some tournament sense, but like Eric talked about earlier, the run total is still really low. Even if you do win, what do you win with that? If they break up Boyd's day, they're probably not going to put up 10 runs on them no matter what. So I think it makes it a little bit of a tough needle to thread. I'm with that on the sim. Didn't get a lot of Nationals, didn't get a lot of Reds in particular, really under 2% for every format stack, 3-man, 4-man, and 5-man there. Those are my biggest antis. Everybody else pretty balanced, getting 5 to 10% in most teams. But definitely, the most Cubs, most Seattle. And the Cubs was a little more willfulness for me because Sim did not force 5-man Cubs very often because they're crazy expensive.
Dayron Blanco, again, 8.5 fantasy projection batting ninth. That's so wild at 2,500.
Yeah, that's a high projection.
That's a high projection. And Dayron Blanco is one of those guys who it would appear is going to run. Let's see. Let me take a look. He had 31 stolen bases last season. So yeah, the guy will absolutely run like crazy, but he got to get on base. So Hunter Green, you got to get on base there. And if he does, he's probably running and probably going to be successful at it. Hence the bolder than most projection that we're looking at here. Look at Asuna. That was the boy for yesterday for Matt Bellman. So keep that in mind here as well. 2,500 for him. You could split a little exposure if you want to there, but all of those guys, average simulated ROIs, they're looking really, really fine and mighty. Did I say mind and fighty instead of fine and mighty?
You said mine and fighting. I didn't know if you were doing a bit there or what, but that's okay. Popety's nerfed.
Grab the goddamn puppet.
Dog of the day. I can't mix up the D's here because it's the same. Dog of the day. It's the dog of the day. Dog of the day. This time the dog is coming out of Eric's mouth. It's the dog of the day. Dog of the day. Cha cha cha. Yeah. Guitar riff. We're done. We're done. Get the graphic off.
This is my place of employment. I'm almost 40 years old. I'm 37. Wow. All right. So that's the dong of the day. The song leading into our...
I mean, Eric, you know comedy. I think Puppet Lindquist hitting the punch on out, that was a little change to what he normally does. He really hit the out of Eric's mouth this time, which I thought honestly, made it even better.
It honestly looked like you were having Puppet Lindquist jerk off his little ticky.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what Big Lindquist does. What's Puppet gonna do?
But it's a big dicky, so it's okay.
Over his shoulder.
It makes a nice belt. 34. Anyway, let's get ourselves the heck up out of here. Tell the people who's going yard in their lineups tonight.
Man, I feel like I'm playing so many Cubs. It should be that. Can I just pick Aaron Judge? I didn't.
I'm gonna hate you. First off, Jesus, what was that? Welcome to our lovely program, Melissa Harvey. Greatest song ever, Spags. I'm terrified of what it would be like. Honestly, I think my wife would love it too much, so we're not going to do it. Jake Burger. We got Burger and Fries from EMAC and LMFAO. Good band back in the day, but also what Loco thought of that. So always enjoyable. Nothing can bring me out of a hiding like a song about Lindy. Yeah. Let's keep it at one. Let's keep it at one song, but not Aaron Judge, Chris Spags. That's not how this works.
Okay, I'll pick a slightly less expensive player who I do have in my lineups today. Seiya Suzuki. I'll go with him. He is still pretty expensive, $5,700. Has had the highest hard hit rate on the Cubs so far. The last couple seasons, or I guess last season changed. 49% hard hit rate for him. 92% or 92 miles per hour exit velocity per hit. He's going against Tanner Gordon, who's given up a really bad 330 ISO right-handed bats. Definitely been unlucky so far, but point is he gives up hard contact. Suzuki's creating a lot of it, so he'll be my pick here as the righty amongst the top four.
Kind of want to go a couple of different ways. I really do, but we're going to go Soldier Boy Tellez. Rowdy Tellez, bet him, playing him a lot in DFS, just a cheap first base option. Vinny Pasquantino showing up quite a bit, as you can see on the Sims tool right now. Totally fine with that, but Soldier Boy Tellez is 3,100 here as well. Middle of that lineup, Seattle lineup, Trevor Williams, the lefty power, everything just stands out for me. It's 74 degrees, which obviously is not exactly warm at first pitch, but it's warmer than it normally is up in Seattle at first pitch when you're getting into those later stages. So I think, with those little flaps, it's still open air-ish and, is what it is. T-Mobile. Love, I miss calling it Safeco, but whatever. We're not going to go safe. We're going to go Rowdy Soldier Boy Tellez. So hit the like button on your way out for the Dong of the Day song and Puppet Lindquist and all of the things, but mostly for my friend Chris Spags. At Chris Spags, go follow him on X. Go follow him on Splash Play, covering NBA, MLB, everything that you could possibly imagine. And of course, the NFL streets. He is now here at Stokastic doing best ball streams as well. We love to have him. My friend, tell everybody else where to find you and what else you're up to.
Yeah, follow me at Chris Spags. You can see all my work, in particular at Splash Play Pod on YouTube. At Splash Play Bets is my daily betting / DFS channel. And tomorrow, 3 p.m., we'll be here doing a best ball draft. I tried to book real Eric Lindquist, but he didn't get back to me over DM, so I don't know if he's available for 12 p.m.
I didn't even see that until I logged back in. Do you know what a trudge my... Oh, shit. Did I just stop presenting this? Whatever.
No, you're still going. I think you just took the screen. You took the screen off.
There we go. I'm just the worst at this ever. Anyway, no, I didn't even notice that came through. Just imagine a minefield of just insanity on a day in, day out basis. Those are my DMs on X. I need to close these things.
We don't text because everybody, I don't know. We everything Stokastic work wise, we DM. I have your number, so I should have just texted you, but I don't.
You got my number, baby. Ooh, Spags wants that good. I get it. I'll give it to
you know what, Eric, as we always say here, nobody's nerfed. Maybe I want to book you on a show sometimes.
Oh, well, we're going to get the heck up out of here. Damn it. I just 2 H's screwed it up. The bit was there. It was so there. Guys, check out the Sims tool, check out Portfolio EV, and then check out NBA Live Before Lock coming up in T-minus 44 minutes. He's Spags. He's awesome and funny. I'm Eric. I am mediocre and just an idiot. Have a dactastic Faye.
You're the only